Everyone do that. It's a vocal warm.
I don't know why I just licked the air.
Because
Welcome
it's
to the
tasty.
podcast. We lick our audience here.
I don't typically lick people. I'll bite you, though.
I licked it, so it's mine.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening to us today. Today, we are talking about some topics that may be difficult for folks. So just a general trigger warning that we're talking a little bit about self-harm, suicide, and talking about meltdowns in general. If this is something that's not a safe space for you and safe topics for you, feel free to skip this one and catch us on our next episode. We hope we see you again.
Hello, and welcome back to Discovering Divergency. I'm Crystal, your ADHD OT.
I'm Sydney, your optimistic autistic.
And I'm Amanda. I'm your ASD PsyD. So this is Discovering Divergency. We are three late diagnosed women navigating our own neurodiverse journeys. And this podcast is for anyone navigating their own journeys, looking to support other people in their life, or just learning more about neurodiversity. If you're new to this podcast, feel free to subscribe and add us in all the places. And if you're returning, welcome back.
So, any sticky thoughts or discoveries that we'd like to share? I discovered Bob Ross.
For the first time?
Okay, so I know who he is. I know who he was.
Good. Just checking.
But I never watched the show before, and I watched it this weekend, and it was so calming. And I painted my first Bob Ross picture.
So good.
That's gorgeous.
We came back to the Verbo, and Crystal just had it there. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
That's
also
amazing.
Painted a
sunflower.
That's beautiful too.
Thank you. So I
love it.
I was really calmed by Bob Ross this weekend. It's my new. I think it might be my new bedtime ritual.
Honestly, it's so chill. He's so chill. I remember I was at a sleepover once when I was 7, and none of us would go to sleep, and the mom just put on Bob Ross, and we all passed out.
It's so fun.
He's just oh my god, the episode I watched last night, he had squirrels,
real baby
real squirrels.
Babies. Apparently, he loves squirrels. I feel like I am Bob Ross.
I think you found your next Halloween costume.
Into him, he had a baby squirrel, and then in the next episode, he had two. He had two friends, and he put them in a box next to him.
Now I need to know if the next one has 3 squirrels. Just increase every episode.
Now it's a counting show.
Yeah. We like numbers, so help our subscription numbers go up.
Maybe we'll have baby squirrels if our numbers go up.
Ooh.
Subscribe for us to eventually adopt a squirrel. As a collective.
We'll pass it around.
And for context, Amanda and Crystal spent time together this weekend in Ithaca, New York. Which is a really good place.
I don't know why, but the way you introduced it made it sound I don't know, it was assigned, or it was when you're volunteering because you can't go to prison. That's what my brain interpreted. It was man and Crystal, they had to hang out this weekend.
Okay, I'll try it again.
We got some feedback that the chemistry was bad, so we made them spend time alone.
Right, a team bonding, forced team bonding. Me and Crystal were enmeshing, so we had
I sent them on a team bonding mission.
Yes. Sid picked up bad vibes from us.
Oh, Sydney, I saw your college room.
Which one? What? Wait, what?
Apartment.
Oh, you went into the apartment? Or you saw it from the outside?
But I could see. So Zach and I went back after we left the farmer's market because he wanted to take a picture in front of the apartment, and we didn't do it during the tour. And so I was able to peek in, and he was like, "Oh, that was my room." And I was like, "Whose room is that?" And he was like, "Sydney's." And
that was mine all the way through the window.
Yes. So I could see your college room.
Oh,
that was
so
cool.
many good memories in that apartment. 140, 106 forever. Yeah, it was really great. I'm so glad you guys got to go to Ithaca, and I'm sure that was really fun for Zach and Elliot to show you where we went to college and all the fun things that happened there, whatever.
I think I heard more of the not so fun things that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
did Zach show you the storm drain?
Did not
I
hear about
asked
the
for
storm
it
drain.
though. We were on a road and I was like, "Is this the road with the storm drain?"
What's
He
the
was like,
storm
"No, that
drain
was back
story?
there."
Maybe we'll talk about that later. Like, I don't know about this one.
It's very
Basically,
quick.
the first day I moved in to college, Zach also moved into the apartment and I barely knew him. But I was like, I'm going to be social and make friends. And I was like, let's go to Wegmans. So we went to Wegmans and then we were driving back up the hill, up Danby. And I went, oh, the storm drain is flooding. Good. And he thought that was very funny. And it just like became a thing forever. Like the first day of our actual friendship. Because I knew him before. We had freshman seminar together. But I didn't know him. So
him.
I was like, oh, you're from my seminar. I'm living with you. And he's like, yeah. That's so fun. Yeah. I mean, I'm also happy you guys got to go. Like that makes me happy too. One day we'll all go together.
Yeah.
On a discovering divergency field trip.
Forced
Discovering divergency field trip.
Hangouts, so
Yeah.
we don't go to jail.
I'm wondering how you guys did with the fireworks. How did you do with the fireworks? Did you I assume you saw fireworks. You were in upstate
So I
New
think
York.
this is actually a good transition to our topic for today. Today we want to talk about transitions. Let's transition to the transition. We want to talk about how we handle transitions, change, and the meltdowns that sometimes come along with them. We planned this beforehand, but I think it actually worked out well for me anyway, because transitioning to go on vacation and like the change around vacation is a rough one for me. So like Sydney said, Amanda and I and our partners and a couple other friends, we went up to Ithaca for 4th of July weekend. So Amanda, how did you do with fireworks?
I did okay with it. Me and my partner and two of our friends were in like one vehicle, and Crystal and her partner were in another vehicle. But overall, I did okay with the fireworks. Where we actually sat wasn't like super close to it. Like you could see it, but the noise was actually not that bad. I feel like I've definitely been in situations where I've been closer and it's been much more louder. But I did okay with it. Like I didn't really have trouble. I had my earplugs if I needed them, but I didn't really need them. I think for me, like fireworks is kind of predictable noise and like a predictable sensory experience. Like I've experienced them several times. Like I feel like I know what they're gonna sound like and look like, and I feel like I don't tend to usually have as much trouble with that compared to like other sensory experiences.
I had a meltdown. It was like, so I guess we're just getting right into it. I don't want it to seem like the fireworks were the thing. It was just like the thing that it was similar to our discussion on migraine. That change was the thing that pushed me over the edge. Like I had leading up to vacation, we were babysitting my partner's dog who just had surgery. So like that was already a change. Like just having her would have been a change, but she like needed a whole bunch of shit too. So like my space was changed. And then we went away. We were there for the day before. And so like we spent time with Amanda and her partner, and we went to waterfalls the morning before fireworks. I was exhausted. My sleep had been off all week. My amount of people time had been off. I'm normally more aware of like, okay, I need time to myself, but I was like high on life. Like I was loving spending time with everyone. So like I didn't feel like I needed that time, but I should have taken more time. And we went back and like I slept, and I could feel like we went to dinner before fireworks, and like I get this feeling in my eyes that I know like either a migraine's coming on or like I'm overstimulated, like starting to be there. But I wanted to still like hang out with everyone. So like I went to dinner, and dinner was fine, and we were on the way to fireworks, and Zach was like, do you want to go? Do you not want to go? And I was like, honestly, I don't really give a shit about fireworks. I think they're dumb. I think they're bad for the environment and they're loud and I hate them, honestly.
Yes. Agreed.
I sit there
You're here.
and I feel anxious the entire time because even though I know it's coming, I feel the fireworks sound in my chest and I just think about how wasteful it is. So it's like not my thing, but my partner really likes them and I really loved like the people I was with and I wanted to spend time with them. And so like Zach was like, let's just go home. And I was like, no, I really want to go. He was like, well, why would you want to go? And I said, I want to spend time with everybody. He's like, all right, let's go. So Amanda said, like, we ended up parking in a different place than they did. And like, I'm actually really I don't know where your place, my place was like not very crowded at all. And I got to go in the lake again and like see
That's
the
nice.
sunset at the lake
Yeah.
and it was beautiful. And we came back, or I went to the bathroom and I came back and Zach was on the phone with Amanda's husband and he was like, okay, like we're going to go meet them. And I think now that I know what activation is too, I think that activated something in me because I have felt like my whole life, I'm always the one that has to fold to somebody else. And like now when that happens, like it upsets me more, even if it's logical, but I'm like, if we're both in a place, why am I the one that has to, like, I didn't get considered. Like, nobody asked me if it was okay. Like, why do I have to go to them? They could come to me. And it wasn't that, but, like, when situations happen like that, that, like, brings up, like, childhood things of, like, I had to always be the one that, like, got the short end of the stick if somebody got the short end of the stick. So we were driving over there. We did drive to the other parking lot. And I was, like, attempting to cope. Like I could feel it coming. So like I have like a spiky stim, like not spiky stim, a spiky fidget that's supposed to give you some like pain. And I couldn't feel it. Like no matter how hard I squeezed it, I could not feel it in my hand. So I was like, and we got to the parking lot and it was so packed. There were so many cars.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do it. Like, I need to go home. And we went back to the Verbo and I had a bit of a meltdown.
Do you feel comfortable talking about like what a meltdown is for you and like what happened or what has happened in the past?
Yeah. I just feel like I've been talking for a while, but I will happily continue to talk.
No, I think like it makes sense. Like this is like your experience. Like I mean, I'm sure me and Sid will kind of talk, but I'm not going to go in and be like, well, that's Crystal's experience. Let me.
I know.
When I talk about me and Sid feel.
Yeah.
Like we will talk, but like you're talking about like your experience and that, and I think like that needs a moment sometimes, like both in reflection, but also in just kind of like, I don't know, like I think there's moments sometimes that we just need that like stillness and that patience to like sit with things and like say what you need to say and everything. Like especially too, like I kind of anticipated that was going to happen as soon as my partner was like, oh, they need to come over here and this and that, and like I also anticipated that like I'm like, I don't know, this is gonna be the best. And again, like I don't think any of it was intentional. I think it was purely some of it was logistical and everything.
Yeah.
But like
And had like that's the thing that's not, that wouldn't always be the case.
Right.
Like I can be flexible. It's just like at that point I had been flexible a lot and like I had already, even just physiologically I was off. Like it was gonna rain. We had spent a lot of time outside in like swimming. My food was off. Like the times I was eating was off. Like I think I snapped at Elliot a bit. Like when we went to eat, sometimes I have this where I feel like I snap at people. It doesn't actually sound it, but I felt like I was being a little rude. He was like, it was already like 3:00 and he was like, oh, do you guys want to just like wait and have an early dinner? I was like, I need to eat.
No, you were fine. Like I think we just planned that poorly because like once we were like there and like we had some snacks, but I was like, why don't we have food? Like what? We did like it was just purely something of like we didn't like it just totally didn't realize and think about like how long we were going to be in the gorges, and it was like oh, it's 3 p.m. and I'm also about to fight someone because I'm hungry.
Yeah. And like he was logical in his thinking. It was a weird time to but I was just like, food. Like I don't
Right.
that's it.
Yeah. But go ahead, Crystal, because Sid asked like what
Yeah.
meltdowns are like for you.
I'm asking not just because one, I want to know, two, I think obviously for the podcast, it would be helpful to, if you're comfortable explaining this. But three, I've never heard someone else's experience with a meltdown. I've only ever known about my own. And so I'm interested to hear what that was like for you.
I mean, the best way I want to feel, like I feel completely out of control. And like I said, like I feel I feel like I'm disconnected from my body, and I like can't. That's why I like, that's why I took out my pain stim, because sometimes that can help like bring me back. And I know I'm in like a meltdown when I the way I can explain it is like I have this like deep guttural cry, and I like it's coming from like way deep down, and I'm just like wailing. I feel like when those things happen, this one was probably my best meltdown ever. So like I was able to access things like tools that I normally like couldn't, so it didn't last as long as like they like I'm thinking about other ones that like before I could access those tools of like I just can't. A lot of it's just like I can't stop crying, and then that will turn into like self-injurious behaviors of like hitting myself or scratching at myself, like pulling my hair, and like that's what I have now. I have, and I didn't bring it, and that's one of the things that like packing is hard, like trying to predict what you're gonna need and like make sure you have everything you're gonna need, because I don't want to hurt myself. Like I know that helps me in a sense, like it brings me back to like my body, and but I don't want to hurt myself. So I have a skim brush like for exfoliating.
Yeah. You told me about that.
I had recommended it to Sydney, and like that I can push really, really hard on my skin, and it doesn't break my skin. Like I won't physically cut myself. But I didn't have that with me. So I tried to use this thing, and this thing actually did leave some like marks on me, and then that feels really like shameful like now, you know? Like looking at my arm and seeing that, and like I feel bad that I hurt myself. But yeah, it makes me feel like a little kid. Like it makes me feel like I go into like a vocal stim of just like I want my mom. And I just say over and over again, I want my mom. And I think sometimes like there's like I wonder, there's a thing called Gestalt language processing, and you kind of, from my like brief understanding of it, you'll kind of like learn things in chunks instead of words. Or like this is a very common thing with autism, of like, well, sometimes use other situations or like movies or things like that to describe feelings. And I realized that, like, because my mom passed away when I was 19, and that was like, that was a time where I was understandably melting down often. And so like, I realized like, it's not like I miss my mom. Like, of course I miss my mom. I always miss my mom, but like, it's me describing that feeling. It's not really about my mom. It's just like, I miss my mom. Like, that's the feeling that I'm having. Yeah. And I put on Bob Ross.
He heals.
He's kind of like a mom.
He's kind of like a mom. And that was really like, oh wow, I was able to like focus on that and I was able to listen to the sounds of the brush and like specifically just listen to the sound of the brush to try to like bring me back.
Yeah.
And that was a really like relatively short meltdown, maybe like an hour. I felt like I was able to access tools that I normally wouldn't be. And so I was able to like kind of come back. I felt embarrassed that I felt embarrassed. Because like obviously like Amanda and I are doing this podcast together. Like we talk about this stuff, but we haven't really experienced that stuff in front of each other. And like, I know I can tell you,
Yeah.
but in that moment, like I didn't feel like I could. And then I felt like there was a lot, like Zach was like, can I tell Elliot that you don't feel good? And I was just like, no, I will tell, like,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, I'll just tell them we're going home. Like, they don't need
Yeah.
to know a reason. There doesn't need to
Right.
be like an explanation. Yeah. And then I felt like bad that I didn't take care of myself well enough, that I wasn't able, like, I shouldn't have, wish I didn't get to that point. And I pushed to that point because I felt bad that my partner was missing out on something that he wanted to do. And then I felt bad that I did that. And then I like started to spiral on like, at what point am I too much? And like, I don't want to mask and I don't want to hide these things, but then these things like hurt other people sometimes. And so like that, I don't know how to balance that. I think like before I knew what was going on, like these things would happen and I would like verbally spiral like this. Like even the next day, like we kind of had, like I was like to Zach, I'm like, I'm scared. Like I'm scared this is going to end up being too much. And like, I'm going to continuously like hurt you because I like when I get like this, like everything hurts. Like he was laughing and I was like, ow. Like, it hurt, like him laughing. And he's like, it feels like only me. He's like, I don't know if you would say that to Elliot. Like, I don't know if you, like, it feels like only I get that type of, like, reaction. And I don't know. And I'm like, but if I monitor my tone 100% of the time to not do that to you, I'm not honoring myself. But then also, I don't want to hurt you. And I don't know how to navigate that. And then I was like, so that it was the next day. So I spent the morning, I chose to stay by myself in the morning. And I like went and painted and I was very happy to do my painting. And I read a book and like everyone else like went out for breakfast and they were like, Zach was like, I'll come pick you up like if you're ready at some point. And so like I had my time and I felt good. And I texted Zach and I was like, if you can come get me. And he did. And then like we were leaving and I don't know if I said it. I don't know how it came up, but like that kind of came up again of like, he's like, I don't know why you don't trust me. Of like, of course I love you, blah, blah, blah. And we started to have the conversation and I could feel myself really easily slipping back to being dysregulated. I was like, now is not the time for us to talk about this. It was like, because right now I'm going to feel like today I feel different than I did that day. Like the logic part of my brain wasn't on. So the way I teach this to kids, I feel like would be really helpful for us. And I felt like I was able to, I think because I've been teaching it so much to kids that I was able to like recall it for myself in the moment. There's a book that I'm blanking on. It's a children's book. My Brain is a Home, and explains the brain as a home. Professor Wise is your frontal lobe, and that's where all the decision making happens. And then amygdala is your guard dog, and that is the part of your brain that raises an alarm. And then hippocampus is like your learning center. And sometimes amygdala barks really, really loud at things that she shouldn't. And she has to learn like what is safe and what is not. And when amygdala is barking really loud, Professor Wise can't think and Professor Wise can't act and hippocampus can't act. And that's your memories and your learning. And so like that is why when you're in that state, it's really difficult to access those skills that you know, because the only thing you can hear is that dog barking. And I felt like I was like, okay, amygdala's still acting. Like, I can't have this conversation. Like, Professor Wise isn't here. And like, that felt really good to be able to like pull that.
I think that's huge to be able to like even later on recognize and understand like what's happening. It's really difficult when we have romantic partners of like we're gonna act differently around them than other people. Like, and we're gonna probably ideally in a situation where you have a healthy and supportive relationship, probably be our messiest selves around them and be our more authentic selves. And I think what helps me to remember in a lot of those moments is in a weird way, but similar way. It's like when a child that goes to school all day and they're very well behaved at school and they come home and have a complete meltdown and have a complete tantrum. And a lot of that is because like when we're around all these other people, like we're holding things in and then we're at our safe place or safe person and it all just kind of comes out. I think it can be difficult for our loved ones to understand why that's happening or why things kind of look different.
I think even if you understand it, it's still hard to handle it.
Yeah.
But it sounds like I don't know about your previous meltdowns, but if you felt like this was not the worst one or like was less bad than the others, then like that's because of you. That's because you used your tools that you had. You know, because you didn't have all your tools, but you did the best you could with what you had. And you have survived 100% of the meltdowns you have ever had, including this one. That's what I remind myself of.
Yeah. Sometimes it also feels like it's like a choice. Both are hard, right? To like access the tools is hard. And sometimes I just don't want like it took a lot. Like I was sitting on the bed and I was like in that guttural cry of like just like screaming and like pulling at my skin, and I didn't want to do anything else. Like I was like I could just sit in this. This still sucks, but it's so hard to like I deserve more. Like I deserve to feel better. Let's do something. Like let's get something. And like it's not a choice. Like I don't want to say it's a choice, but like I was able to make that choice. But there's been times when I haven't been.
I think it's more than a choice. I think it's practice, because I imagine some of this in your ability to navigate it differently has come from repetition of practicing these things either for yourself or for the people you work with. And I think that's such an important aspect of this. Personally, I think for myself, calling it a choice means that I had control, and I don't feel like in these moments there always is that. And like I think it's a yes and kind of situation, because I think there is some things that we could but can't. And I think I appreciate kind of your openness, because I think I relate a lot to that feeling of feeling like a toddler, and feeling like I've had plenty of meltdowns where I'm like acting and behaving in a way that I'm like, this feels like a toddler, and this feels, especially in the same way of a toddler, is like having a freak out because you're said, no, you can't have a candy bar, and you're like, why is there so like huge big reaction in my head as an adult looking at a child being like, it's not that big a deal. But that same kind of thing, at least in my experience, can happen in a meltdown of like something that might in my head seem minuscule or seem like something I should be able to adapt to or should be able to handle, becomes that huge reaction. So again, I appreciate kind of your openness with that, because I imagine for the people listening or for ourselves that like there can be something very relatable to that, and also something very difficult to explain and discuss about.
Thank you for saying that. I feel like you're right. It is practice. And I'm going to go back to my brain model of like, it's practice so that hippocampus can still like, and it's a cute little picture of an actual hippo. So like I'm picturing a hippo, right? Like hippo is that memory and that learning. And when our guard dog amygdala is too loud, like they can't learn. But if I teach hippo while guard dog is quiet, if I keep teaching hippo these things and I keep doing those things when I don't need them, like they're easier to access.
Yeah. The thing that brings to mind too is like what can happen is similar of like when you're first learning to drive, it takes a lot of mental effort. You have to remember, okay, this foot is the pedal, this hand is for the steering wheel, this is where my lights are, this is where my windshield wiper is. And in the beginning, it takes a lot of that cognitive power. But then you practice and you practice and you practice, and eventually you get to a point where it's more automatic. And then, God forbid, you could handle that moment where your car is skidding in a different direction, or someone goes in front of you or stops short or whatever it is, and you have that ability to have that automatic reaction. And it's a similar thing with this of like when you're able to practice those and have it be a little more automatic, then you can apply it. But that only comes over time and over different ways that we kind of change. But we can't expect ourselves to all of a sudden be learning to drive for the first time and then be able to handle a crisis.
Yeah, I feel like I think about it, I'm like, I didn't, even just understanding what's going on, right? Like, I think back to meltdowns I had as a kid, or like, and I didn't know what was happening. So I labeled it differently. Like, I have a very strong memory of trying to get ready for a friend's sweet 16. And I know now, like, nothing felt right. But I was like, nothing's looking right. Everything I put on, I didn't like how it felt. But in my head, I was like, I don't like how it looks. And I remember like clawing at my stomach and like wanting to rip my stomach off. And like now I'm like, oh, that was a meltdown. Like that was a sensory overwhelm. I was probably anxious about being at a sweet 16, like with a lot of different kids that I don't really know. She was a year older than me, so like I didn't really know anybody there. And then I was anxious about being late because I couldn't find what to wear. I didn't have any tools to access there.
I think a lot of people think of meltdowns as like tantrums or like breakdowns or like crying fits, because I also labeled it differently when I was a kid. And then looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a meltdown. But I think it would be helpful for people to have a definition. I mean, obviously it's different for everyone, but like a rough definition of what distinguishes an autistic meltdown from other kinds of reactions that people can have.
I think it is important to define the differences, but I don't want to misstep in my definition of those things, because I think also too, there is other mental health conditions where you may have reactions that are similar in presentation, but are from a different source, if that makes sense. But I think there can be dysregulation. Like a good way I would define some of this is emotional dysregulation. But that's not the end-all be-all of it. Because I agree with Crystal about the lack of control. And I know for me, like, I know Crystal mentioned, like, saying, like, I need my mom. I know for me, I have a lot of repetitive speech when I'm having a meltdown. Like, and I will just repeat the same phrase over and over and over and over. And I don't know off the top of my head if that is distinct to an autistic meltdown versus other emotion dysregulation events. But in my personal experience, it is different. So I just want to make sure that I'm not referencing or defining anything in a way that is inaccurate and inappropriate. And I think this is also where I want to remind folks, like, we may be, some of us, me and Crystal, are professionals, but we are not your professional. Like, if there is something that you are wondering about and concerned about and wondering, like, is this autism? Is this another mental health disorder? Is this a meltdown? Is this a panic attack? Is this XYZ thing? I highly, highly, highly recommend for folks just your own personal providers so they can talk to your personal experience and really accurately define it for you. Like, we can give a broad thing, but again, don't expect us to be the end-all be-all of education. Like, always reference your own personal providers.
I think that's kind of good. I feel like it's an intense, like...
I know it's a loaded question.
Yeah, I don't know that we can really... I don't believe there's, like, a clinical definition that we could give.
I'm looking at the National Health Services kind of website. I'll share it for our folks, but again, like I mentioned, don't take this as the end-all be-all of everything. But I think this is a helpful way of explaining and exploring this phenomenon. So the top of it just says, like, what is an autistic meltdown? So it says when someone is anxious or flooded with sensory input, the brain can become overwhelmed. This is more common for autistic people and can result in a meltdown. Again, personally, I would add that also transitions can cause some of this. Also, many other kind of circumstances. It just kind of talks about that it's not deliberate, that like when an autistic person has a meltdown, they lose control of their behavior due to becoming overwhelmed. In this moment, cannot process how they feel another way. A person having a meltdown may change their behavior verbally or physically, or a mixture of both ways, which I think is really important to the stuff Crystal was talking about, is that this isn't something that can be controlled necessarily. Like, I always see it as like you're on the train tracks, and if you see the train is coming, maybe you can navigate it a different way, but that train is still coming. We're not going to stop the train all of a sudden and completely halt the train. So that's how I kind of think about it. And then it talks about like triggers and warning signs. So like triggers can be like social situations, sensory overload, experiencing changing, basic needs unmet, very emotional situation, and then like some stuff to help. Again, I really think overall, like, it's going to be a personal and a clinical kind of decision of like what is a meltdown for each person.
Yeah, because like before I was diagnosed, I was labeling meltdowns as panic attacks. And I definitely was having panic attacks, but I was mostly having meltdowns, but I didn't know that's what it was. And I was prescribed an as-needed medication for panic attacks. And it does help with meltdowns, but I haven't had any since I started taking it, because I've also been taking like anti-anxiety medication, which, you know, that helps. And I got my diagnosis and that helps. But I've been labeling them panic attacks. But when I look back, there have only been a handful of panic attacks. Most of them were meltdowns.
Mm-hmm. Which I can personally define both. Like, I have experienced both, and they're very distinct events for me. And also from like a more clinical end, I could define like a panic attack, like if we think that would be helpful for folks. Like,
it would be helpful for me.
in my personal experience, I'll talk about that, is like I've had some really bad like driving anxiety. It's improved greatly over the years, but like I had a previous car accident that led to like really bad driving anxiety. Like, could not like park in a parking lot and move 2 inches. Driving anxiety, like severe. And for me with that, I had panic attacks where like you just can't breathe. You feel like you can't breathe. You're just over and over hyperventilating, can't breathe, and sobbing, crying. But for me with the panic attack, there's not really specific thoughts really associated. It's just kind of like this thing triggered it. And it's also brief. That's the difference too. A panic attack, also by like actual clinical definition, is briefer. Like, I don't remember off the top of my head like how long in duration it is, but it is a brief event. You're having this hyperventilation. You feel like you can't breathe. For some folks, there's a fear of dying or feeling like you're dying. And then it kind of ends. It dissipates. It's kind of that isolating thing. And for me, again, there wasn't thoughts associated with it. It was just like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I can't breathe. And then it ends. With myself and with meltdowns, it's way longer. There's way more thoughts associated. And I feel like for me, it's almost more of this roller coaster of like, I'm having this elevation and I'm probably sobbing and crying. And like Crystal mentioned, maybe looking for some sensory way to alleviate this feeling or change this feeling. I'm also really, really repetitive in my speech and really repetitive in my thoughts. Like, there's just this constant cycle, and it might be different self-deprecating thoughts or different thoughts about my relationship, and I just am on this loop. And then I kind of maybe calm down, and then it can kind of go back up, and then I kind of maybe calm down, and then I go back up. And some of it might involve like a panic attack. There might be points where like I'm hyperventilating and can't breathe. Like, it's way more associated of like I'm feeling like I did something wrong, or something is wrong, or something triggered it, and like I'm feeling guilt about it, and I'm feeling shame about it, and I'm feeling a lot of these other feelings while like I don't with the panic attack. Like, there might be some shame or guilt of like, wow, I feel embarrassed that I feel like I can't drive. I feel like I'm having a panic attack, but it's way less cognitive, if that makes sense.
I was going to say, I feel like a panic attack for me anyway feels way more physiological.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah, like, whereas a meltdown feels way more emotional.
Yeah, that would be a
That's
really
a
good
really
way.
good distinction, I think, in my experience too.
The other thing with, so I've noticed, like, I guess meltdowns can look very different. But for me, like, when I define a meltdown, I'm like, it's like that crying and that roller coaster that you described. Sometimes if I can't, like, if I don't allow myself to do that and I
Yeah.
stop it,
Mhm.
I will go into a shutdown. And I kind of want to define that a little bit. I don't know if you
Go for it.
guys experienced that.
Oh yeah.
And so this happened more, and I didn't know what was going on. That would happen more when I don't allow myself to melt down, and I don't allow myself to feel those feelings when they're there. Like if I could have pushed through. I could have went to the fireworks. I have, sometimes I'll go into a meltdown and then shut down. But like I will sleep for legitimately 18 hours, 20 hours. Like I remember the last time this happened, it was a very similar situation actually with you guys.
Is this where I find out I'm always a trigger?
Yeah, you guys
Are we your
fucking
trigger?
the worst.
We're your trigger.
Kristen
Oh, no,
started
it's,
this
it's just
podcast
Amanda. Amanda's your
Nope,
trigger.
nope, this one's Sydney too. You were there, girl.
Oh, Crystal started this podcast to confront us. That's what it really
I
was.
think we need another team bonding session.
Right.
This isn't enough.
Now it's time for someone else to have a meltdown, and it's going to be Crystal's fault.
No, so it was a similar thing. It was when you visited around Thanksgiving. And like so Thursday was Thanksgiving. Friday I hang out with my cousins, and then Saturday I was seeing Sydney. Sydney was visiting. So like I very purposefully like planned these things that I was only going to do one thing a day, so I had time to rest and whatnot, because I was like, I don't want to burn myself out. I don't want to get to this point. That didn't happen. So then Saturday morning I wake up, and again I could feel it in my eyes. Like I don't know what it is. Like my eyes just feel heavier when this like feeling happens. But I was like, Sydney's here from LA. Like I'm not gonna get to see her if I don't go. So like I slept until we literally were leaving, which I think we're probably meeting up around 11 o'clock. And we went to and I was so hungry because I was sleeping that whole time. And we went to the coffee shop, and you guys were at a different coffee shop. And
Oh my god. Yeah.
I was like, shut down, because I don't want to melt down, because I'm gonna go hang out with
Right.
friends. So I'm not gonna let myself cry. And I was just like I'll get wide-eyed. I feel that, like I'm not blinking. I got food, I got coffee, and I was able to, I don't think I took, actually I think I sat there and I didn't talk, and I rocked and I rubbed my phone, because my phone has a fidget
Kind of
on it.
remember that.
Yeah, like I don't think I was talking. And then I went home and I slept for probably 20 hours. Like I physically could not get up. Like I would like wake up. I like could barely keep my eyes open. Like my boyfriend would get me food. I would eat something and go right back to sleep. Like his mom was like coming down, like, is she okay? She's like been sleeping all day. Like that's what a shutdown looks like for me. It's like I feel like it's my body. Like I didn't listen to those warning signs for so long, and my body is like, you're gonna play dead now. Like you're not surviving. That's like that is what happens in the wild, right? Like you fight, and I fought and I fought and I fought, or you run away, and I didn't run away, and then I played dead.
Fight, flight,
Yeah.
or flop.
Fight, flight, or flop.
Trademark pending.
But I think that really hits on something too, that like this is needed sometimes, even though it's not desirable. At least for me and my experience, it's like my body needs this in order to regulate it, and the more I push it away, the worse it's going to be, and the longer it's going to be, and the crappier it's going to be. And it's just this kind of thing of like my body has to do this, and I cannot prevent it, because it doesn't matter if I prevented it, it's going to come out in that other way, like you mentioned, of like a shutdown or some other kind of concern later. I think that's where like a lot of this acceptance kind of comes. And acceptance is not like, yippee, I love this thing and it's pleasurable and enjoyable. But I think there's a level of like, it's helpful to learn your body and learn like what makes sense for your body and what your body requires in different moments.
It's kind of like saying, let yourself cry. You need to cry. You need to cry it out, whatever. This is like that, but like maxed out. Like
Yeah.
in a different way, but that need of like, I need to do this, even though it's not pleasant. I need to just get this out in some way.
Or even if I don't want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think this is part of that unmasking too. And it sucks. It sucks sometimes. It really does. Like I remember early on, like I was the type of person that I scheduled things constantly. Like I always had something going on. And I love people and I love hanging out with people. And I think that is like also, since I do have ADHD and autism, like, which I call ADHD and people call ADHD, it's that pull of like my body craves like routine and solitude, but then it also craves this like novelty and like dopamine seeking and like being with people. And I remember really early on in my discovery, laying in my bed and just sobbing, again, not in a meltdown, in like a grief fit of like, I can't do the things I want to do. But if I keep doing it, eventually I won't be able to, right? Like eventually I'm going to shut down anyway. So like I'm making the choice now, but it still sucks. Now I don't feel that way as much because I've done it for so long that I'm like, oh, I'm able to enjoy the time that I do spend with my friends and my alone time. And my alone time is not spent recovering from the rest of my life. But that was a really hard journey. And it's still like, there were moments like I wanted to just come out to breakfast with you guys. I was like, I'm all right, I could go. And I
I
was
didn't miss much, to be honest.
no, and I know that. And I'm like, why am I going to do that? Like, I enjoy spending time by myself. I was like, I'm going to pick something like I enjoy doing and do it. Whereas like in the past, I probably would have sat there and been like, I fucking hate myself. I hate myself. I hate myself. I hate myself. I can't do this. I want to be with I'm missing out. I'm always the one that can't do it. I hate myself. Like that's the other one. I go, I miss my mom and I hate myself. Those are the ones that I go back and forth between.
I think that's the thing too, is like what I'm noticing as well, and again, I'm not speaking for you, Crystal, like please correct me if I get something wrong, but there's things that occur leading up to it. It's like usually this meltdown is not the thing of itself. It's the thing after everything else. Like the dog was in your house. We didn't eat lunch at a normal time that day. You're in a brand new environment. Like also it was like on and off rainy. You might have been having different things with other chronic illnesses at that moment. Like the meltdown is like the climax of all these events leading up to it. And that may not be everyone's experience, but I think that is a pretty common experience of like, it's just the straw that broke the camel's back. It's the end of all these things. And like, I think that's where it becomes knowing yourself too, of like sometimes controlling what you can, but sometimes you can't, especially with stuff of like, you have to care for an animal or you have things going on with your own physiological stuff. Like there's only so much we can control. And I think it's really difficult to try and navigate the aspects of our life that we can control and the ways we can protect ourselves and some of the ways that we have to be like, well, this is just going to suck and I have to just handle it.
Yeah, I think that acceptance is because like I tried, right? Like I tried everything.
Right.
And I did everything I could leading up. Like the only thing I like could have done different is like maybe spent a little less time with you guys and like purposefully, but I wasn't there
Right.
cognitively because I was having so much fun. And then I was like talking to our other friends. And then when we went to go into I think I missed this sign. So when we had breakfast all together, we spent the morning together. We got in the car and I was completely silent and I did not blink. And I was like, and Zach's like, did you have too much people time? And I was like, yep. But then, I mean, I sat under a waterfall for like 4 hours and I didn't talk to anyone. And I just like somehow waterboarded myself a lot.
It really was like,
Hey, whatever works, you know?
It felt so good. And I
That's
petted
the magic of the Ithaca
hair.
Gorges.
There was like hair on the waterfall.
It was weird.
It was so cool.
Is it just
I loved
Like
it.
like moss, like algae.
moss? But it definitely felt like hair. It was
It
All
felt
right.
like hair.
Great.
It was so cool.
I'm glad you experienced all that Ithaca had to offer, including Mother Nature's hair.
I fucking love waterfalls. Waterfalls are one of my favorite things in the world. And they also like just make you, I don't know, they make me think of myself of like they are formed, like their beauty is formed from being under pressure, right? Like it is really destruction. Like we're looking at like this beauty but we're really looking at destruction and like the pressure of water that has like formed this over years, and that like it's going to look different all of the time. Like at the next time you're there, it's going to look different because it has been going for longer and whatnot. And yeah, there's just a lot of like metaphorical stuff with waterfall. The sound is so good. I was like, all right, Zach, like let's do witchcraft. Let's like let's let the waterfall cleanse us and like let go of like whatever we want. Like let it wash us away.
I do that at the beach. I used to be like, water is cleansing me of my stress and its magic and its properties of whatever. And I don't do that anymore. But like I did that at the gorges too. You're right.
I do that in the shower.
I should.
Like, I mean, Amanda, I think you can speak to this from like, you got to walk a line of like magical thinking, but I think there is something of visualizing, whether you not like truly believe it, but like visualizing washing away whatever that thing is. Like I do that. My therapist like taught me to do that with work because like I work with people and I like have to like think about separating myself. But like, so when I shower, like like physically like, okay, I am washing away the day. Like I'm washing away those things.
Do you want to talk a little about your experience with meltdowns? Because I know Crystal and I talked a bit about our experience. So for you, what does a meltdown look like? Even though it has been a little while, if you don't mind kind of sharing a bit about it.
The meltdowns that I had in my childhood, I would say it was a lot of hyperventilating. It was a lot of that feeling of like, I want my mom, but not, I don't think it was like that for me in my childhood because usually I was having meltdowns at home and my mom was home. But Mom, I love you. This is not a dig at you. I didn't want to be around her. I wanted to be by myself. I didn't want to show anyone that I was having what is called a meltdown now, and I remember like this uncontrollable crying, and I have this vivid image in my mind of like sitting on my parents' bed and my parents trying to calm me down, and I like cannot stop crying. And they're like giving me a Dixie cup of water, and they're like, just drink water and stop crying. And I'm like, I literally cannot stop crying. You telling me to stop crying is not going to help. The water I appreciate if I can get it down, but it's like to like calm down. Yeah, I'll just try that. Like, no. I mean, I was a kid and we didn't know what was going on, and they did the best they could. But most of the time I wanted to be by myself. I did a lot of arm flailing, and like I've hit a lot of walls. I haven't like punched a hole in a wall, but I have damaged walls from punching. And then I had to like not hurt myself, which I had a really traumatic experience when I was in middle school, and then another one in high school relating to like, trigger warning, suicide and self-harm. It wasn't for me, but I experienced it with other people. And so I have this really deep-rooted, like very literal core value of like not harming myself. And so there was so many times where I wanted to like pick at my skin and like scratch and pull my hair out. And I was like, no, that's self-harm. I can't do that. And so I had to find other ways of getting that energy out. And I had trouble doing that because I didn't have any tools. And then in my adulthood, I'm not a grown-up, I'm still a child. But since moving to LA when I was in my early 20s, I had a lot of meltdowns during COVID because I was across the country from my family, and that in and of itself was extremely difficult, and my job was really stressful, and I was not in a good headspace. And so I was having a lot of meltdowns, like so frequently. I don't want to sound like I'm exaggerating, but like I probably had at least a meltdown a week for like 2 years, 3 years. And I would roll around on the floor and Tyler would try and help me. And I was like, there's nothing you can do. And I would do this thing where I guess I do this thing where I like I do this, I like hug myself, but that makes it harder to breathe. So I have learned that I should do this instead and put my arms up or out to open up my rib cage and stretch and still get that like feeling of like there's something with my arms, but I still have this feeling of like rocking back and forth, crossing my arms, hugging myself, and closing off my airways a little bit. I used to have a lot of meltdowns when Tyler and I had arguments. And we're not like having arguments. We're just like a normal couple who like argues over things. But like sometimes when I would get to a point where I cannot explain myself any further, I would melt down and then I would shut down. And that was very consistent. That was like a big trigger for me, was like, and I think that stems from being like a human being and feeling misunderstood, but also my own personal experiences of people not believing me or being told you're not making any sense, even though I feel like I'm speaking plain English. And just like, you know what? If you like this subconscious, like if you're not going to listen to what I'm saying, I'm just going to like react and then I'm just going to shut down. And that was kind of, I guess, how my brain functioned. But yeah, a lot of crying, a lot of screaming, a lot of, when I moved out here, it became, I want my mommy kind of feeling of like, and I attribute that feeling for me. I'm sure it's very different for you, Crystal, but like for me, that feeling of like, I want my mommy is like, I don't feel safe. I want to be in a safe place. I want to be like coddled and feel safe like a baby. And like, that's kind of what I say that's kind of, I think what I am trying to convey.
Yeah. I think I'll also say like, I want to go home. That's another one.
Yeah.
And I'll be home.
Say,
me
home.
too.
I will rock back and forth.
I have literally said that out loud.
I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to go home.
I have said that a lot too.
I have that feeling, thought, like, I don't know, at least once a week. Like, anytime I'm upset or dysregulated, it's like this feeling of like, I want to be home, but I'm literally in my house. But it's just this like desire again of like this really young and primal part of me just wanting that safety and that comfort and that place that like when you're younger might like feel safe and like home. And I think that comes to mind too, that like Sid kind of mentioned like two things that kind of stuck with me. Like one, I appreciate you kind of like saying about rolling on the floor and stuff, because like I think these are really behaviors and parts of autism that people don't see and don't understand, especially in late diagnosed people. Like we're not going around saying, yeah, this is what happened, this is what is occurring for me. Like it's something that not a lot of people know or understand if you haven't personally witnessed it. And I think the other thing that you mentioned is like, for some of us, I think so much of this is connected to our own personal histories and our own personal triggers and our own kind of personal things. Like you kind of mentioned some stuff about like being misunderstood, and that kind of leads to a meltdown. Or Crystal kind of mentioned that like some of the previous times of people like interacting with you in certain ways and how that certain stuff was like a trigger too. So like I think there's just so much of this that is our own personal things, but can come out in these ways.
Also, we're sharing our experiences as level 1 white female people. Everyone experiences things differently, and in the level 2, 3s, I imagine the meltdowns can be more violent, worse. Like, this is just our experience. This is not like the poster child of all meltdowns.
No, and like I've experienced meltdowns with kids that are level 2 and level 3, and it can be so hard because like a lot of times they literally can't verbalize anything, or like even afterwards, right? Like when they do get to a more regulated state, they can't tell me what the things were that helped, that, you know, led them to get there. It's like it's a detective game. Like we're being detectives for ourselves all the time, right? So yeah, it can be a totally different experience.
You recommended an app to me, Crystal, a while ago.
Yeah, so sometimes non-speaking individuals will use something called an AAC, and it's a communication board, and you would like tap to say words. I had found when I was like having more frequent meltdowns, I had found like a free version of an app that does like an AAC.
I found it. It's called Weave Chat.
Weave Chat. Like you could make your own phrases, because sometimes like when you are in that state, you don't have like I'm sitting there thinking all of the things I want to say, and I like thinking all of the things I need, but I just like physically can't verbalize. Like, I ran out of words. Like I can't access that. So that was like one way of being able to like have these pre-written things that like I could tap and my partner could help me. My partner will give me like choices sometimes and I can like point to.
Yeah, giving someone having a meltdown choices instead of saying, "What do you need? Can I get you water? Yes or no? Mm-hmm. Do you want this blanket or this blanket?" Like that's helpful to me.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of
or
like
just doing it.
Yeah.
And like allowing them to take it or not, right? Like putting the water next to them.
And I think that's where I'm going to kind of start bringing us to wrap up a little bit of like, that's where it's really hard because it's educating ourselves. And then additionally, if you are someone who has a partner or close friends or family in your life, educating those people. And it's a very hard and tiring process of figuring this all out and being able to communicate it. And I think it brings me back to Crystal talking about like, I'm on this trip with Crystal. Like we both know that we both have autism. Like easily, if things were in a different circumstance, Crystal could have potentially told me. But also it's really hard to tell yourself, let alone your partner, let alone the extra person, let alone be like, here's what's going on. Like it is so hard to kind of communicate these things. And I think that's why we share it, so that you can kind of do your own reflection or your partners can do some reflection and like figure out how to navigate this. I think a lot of the stuff we talked about today too is that this is very personal and very different for each person. Like we mentioned 3 different experiences. We're only 3 different experiences of us. And I think that's where it brings us up like we really love sharing our Sunflower Spotlight and being able to show what are additional people's experiences, what are additional places that people can get education. So we'll kind of show in a moment like someone that is another place that you can kind of see what a meltdown looks like. We mentioned what ours look like, but there's some folks online that have recorded theirs, so you can really see what that experience might be like.
Also, don't be mad at your people if they have meltdowns and they don't tell you.
Yeah.
It's like Amanda said, it's hard enough to acknowledge it to yourself. It's really difficult to bring another person in for a variety of reasons. So, PSA to supporters of neurodivergent folks, be patient. Just be patient. Yeah. Just be patient and be kind.
Do you want to bring in the crystal ball?
Yeah.
Crystal's ball makes a return.
Slow-mo shot.
I can't believe you just had this in your home.
No. So we kind of talked a lot today about different experiences with meltdowns. So we're going to bring in our Sunflower Spotlight to just kind of show another experience of what a meltdown looks like.
Ooh.
So as we've mentioned in past episodes, our Sunflower Spotlight is a special time that we share posts from creators or different education or different ways to have resources. So for our Sunflower Spotlight today, we have this user, cottage._.fairy. I believe her pronouns are she, her. What's really interesting about her is that she posts these videos of her meltdowns. And I think this is really helpful for folks to see, like, what does this look like, especially in folks that might be a little bit similar to us of late diagnosed and or level 1 autistic, and really being able to see what these experiences look like. So the caption just says, I can't just calm down. I promise I would if I could. I've had 3 more big meltdowns over the last few days. I'm so dysregulated, it's ridiculous. I don't know what to do to fix it at this point. And it just says sharing what meltdowns can look like as a late diagnosed 23-year-old with autism, so other like-minded people don't feel as alone as I used to feel.
Everything is dirty and everything is wrong and my brain won't shut up. Where's the remote? Where the f is the remote? Where's the remote? Where's the remote? Stay calm. Where's the remote? Stay calm. Where's the remote? Where's the remote? Where? Mom, it's so dirty in the couch. Wait a minute. I'm gonna need to find a mouth and turn it down. Like this one. The sun! I didn't find the remote. That really sucks. But it's not the end of the world. Maybe I'm just uncomfortable. That doesn't help. I was hungry and now I'm not. Stop hitting my eye. I should just leave this room, I guess. Oh my god. Literally everything is fine. Literally everything is okay. Everything is okay. I'm okay. I don't need TV. It's just that I was expecting it. I don't need it. I'm fine without it. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's literally okay.
So there's a lot in that video for folks that are just kind of listening on audio. It kind of just shows a couple bits of what the meltdown's going to look like for her. And I think there's a lot of things that even we mentioned of like repetitively saying the same thing over and over again, some kind of holding your chest and rocking at different moments, some aspects of sometimes some sensory stuff going on of like the sun's in her eye. She's feeling that it looks like at one point she took her bra off because maybe it was too tight and maybe there were some sensory things going on with her clothing. And a lot of it too, in some of the captions there and some of the things that she shows, is she's attempting to kind of regulate, and she's attempting to use a fidget that she has. She's attempting to do some breathing. It sounds like at one point she's like putting on maybe a video that kind of helps her. So there's a lot of different things in that video, and I really encourage folks to kind of watch that video if they feel comfortable watching it to really see what that looks like. I know for myself, when I first discovered this page, it was the first time that I had seen anyone have meltdowns that felt like mine, especially I think a lot of times when we see quote unquote meltdowns on social media, it's usually more those level 2 or level 3 autistic, usually often children having a meltdown, and that might look similar and or different to how it looks like for adults. So I know for myself, I felt really seen in these videos. So I think it's something that could be really helpful for folks.
Thank you guys for listening to me and holding space for me to cry. And thank you guys for sharing your stories too. Like, even just in this time of us doing it, like it's been helping me too. Our quote for the week will be from our girl Temple Grandin. She is a pioneer in the autism community. Look her up. If you don't know her, you need to. This quote made me kind of think about how, yeah, I went through this meltdown, but I made so many strides in coping with it. And so the quote is, "There was no single breakthrough. It was a series of incremental improvements." And I think that kind of encompasses this journey.
So before we wrap, we got some questions from our community that we wanted to share the answers to for the people who asked and also people who might have the same questions. If you're watching this and you also have questions, you can DM us, you can leave a comment on an Instagram video, a YouTube short, a YouTube video, Spotify, anywhere. We will see it. We always check, and we are so happy to answer any questions that you have. So the first question that we got is, why does Crystal keep saying ADHD, which, she's saying ADHD, AUDHD. So Crystal, do you want to explain what ADHD means?
Yeah, so ADHD is not just my Staten Island accent. It is having ADHD and autism, which is kind of how we the ADHD community, I guess, has like put the acronym together. Instead of saying autistic and ADHD, we say ADHD.
Another question, what is a PsyD? Because honestly, I didn't know what that was until Amanda sent it in our text chat.
Yeah, so oftentimes in the beginning of our episode, I call myself our ASD PsyD. ASD is just autism spectrum disorder. That's what I have. PsyD is a doctorate of clinical psychology. So in my professional normal life, like that's what I have. I have a doctorate. I studied psychology for 5 years. It's very exhausting and tiring, but that's what I earned. And that is like my professional label and term. So I call myself the ASD PsyD mainly because it's rhyming and it's really fun. But yeah, that's my professional title is I have a clinical psychology degree.
The next question is, what the even heck are the animal beeping noises? As in, why do you keep putting animal sounds over your curse words? And the answer to that is as simple as we want our podcast to be accessible to as many people as possible and for it to reach as many people as possible. And so we made the decision to bleep out bad words because we want everyone to feel comfortable listening. We don't want our content to be marked as explicit. However, we still want to express our feelings. So we're going to do that in our recordings, and then we're going to bleep them out with animal sounds because that's hilarious. And the animal sounds we picked, mine is a cat. I guess you haven't heard it yet. Amanda's is a frog and Crystal's is a cow. They are also the animals we have chosen to represent ourselves and our interests on our branding. So that's why that is happening.
Our level of comedy is for the same audience that enjoyed as children watching SpongeBob and hearing the dolphin cursing. That's the same level of comedy that we have. So if you like that, you might like our podcast.
Yes. If you like SpongeBob, you'll like us, basically, is what Amanda is saying. Okay. The next question is, can you explain the overall umbrella of neurodivergence? What are the other diagnoses that fit into the category? And I think that's a really big, loaded question. Amanda, would you like to try and answer that question? Because it's a good one.
Yeah, I would say it depends kind of the audience of who's defining this. Because I would say personally, it would be in two ways. Like there is one camp that anything that is any kind of mental difference is a neurodiversity, which can include depression, anxiety, OCD, personality disorders, as well as autism, as well as ADHD, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of like one camp is neurodiversity is the diversity of all experiences that we can kind of have. But I do think I find in some communities, and I think kind of some of the stuff that we're referencing is sometimes neurodiversity is more kind of isolated to ADHD, autism, those kind of experiences, as well as sometimes learning disorders. So I think for the sake of our podcast, we're talking about neurodiversity in terms of that autism and ADHD experiences, but feel free to kind of navigate on your own what you think that neurodiversity might mean for you.
The final question is, what is the crystal ball thing? And we showed it in this episode, but if you just want to show it again, Crystal has this crystal ball that she already happened to have with a sunflower in it, and her name is Crystal. So we thought with our humor, it would be funny if it was indeed the mascot and the intro for the Sunflower Spotlight.
It's a real sunflower too.
It is?
I refilled the water today because I've had it for years. And so like that's why I haven't held it up, because when I would hold it up, like it kind of got gross and like petals would come out. So I refilled it this morning.
That's cool.
So that it wouldn't look gross. It was a present from my partner for Women's Day like 3 years ago. And
you're a woman. Here's a sunflower.
Yes.
That's all the questions that I have in my list for today. But again, if you have any questions and you want us to answer them, please let us know. We will answer as many questions as we possibly can. I think that that's the end of the podcast. What do you think?
The podcast is over.
Podcast is over.
Podcast is over.
Podcast is over. You don't have to
the podcast is over.
You don't have to go home.
Okay, we love you. Bye.
Bye.